When life knocks you down, and life will knock you down, try to land on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up. Welcome to Fire with Dr. Ninja Turtle.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Fire with Dr. Ninja Turtle. In my last video, I talked about how messy my April was and how my finances are up and down, and that leads directly into this video, which talks about failing forward. The path to wealth is not always a straight line. So in this video, I'm going to talk about my past and things that have led me to fail forward. And this is a mindset. You can either take your failures and get down on yourself, or you can have a growth mindset and say, what lesson can I learn from this failure? Let's talk about the perspective of failure. When you embrace failure and look at it as a lesson, then you learn from that. For example, when I had my first rental property in Vermont, I was at an airport and I got a call from one of the renters. It was a duplex, and the husband was asking if he was on the lease, which he was. But his wife was sleeping with a 17-year-old in the next unit and had kicked out the husband. Well, the husband kicked in my front door. That cost me $800 in repairs. And I learned that I'm not very good at being a long-distance landlord. Let me tell you about turning one of my setbacks into a setup for a comeback. When I bought that duplex that I mentioned earlier with the guy kicking in my front door, when I bought that, the roof was sagging. I mean, really sagging in the middle. But I got the duplex at a good price, and I got it for only $2,000 down because I was going to live in one side. Well, we jacked up the roof. We put a marble block in the middle in the basement to hold up the roof of this big building. And that marble block is still there holding up this building 20 years later. So sometimes you buy something and you think this is a horrible decision. I had no construction skills. I did not know what I was doing. However, I did the best with the knowledge that I had, and as I learned better in life, I did better. I want to explore the psychological part of failure. When you have a failure, you have to have the mindset that you can get back up from that failure. Never let that failure keep you down. I have had so many times in life where either I've caused my own problems or things outside of me have caused me problems, and all I could do is get back up. I speak about Les Brown a lot because Les Brown says if life knocks you down, try to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. The other person that I've listened to for a lot of years and many different books is Jim Rohn. 20 or 30 years ago, he had this CD set that said the 21 habits of self-made millionaires. I listened to those 21 habits year in and year out. Today, 30 more years later, I'm starting to enact some of those 21 habits. Actionable steps that you can take when life knocks you down is to just move forward. Don't sit there and ruminate over what they did to you or why you made this mistake. Put one foot in front of the other. Someone once said to me, it doesn't matter how the mule got in the ditch, get the mule out of the ditch. And so I don't care whether I caused the problem or someone else caused me a problem, I get myself out of that problem. One of the things that's benefited me from my failures is learning from others. I watched many people on Bigger Pockets, that's the real estate podcast, that talked about failures in real estate investing. They also talked about their successes. So I knew if they could succeed, I could succeed. One of my unofficial mentors is Ben Leibovich. I watched his creative financing for real estate, and I also took his course in creative financing. I learned so much from Ben, and Ben today, many years later, is a friend of mine. Another person that I've watched on Bigger Pockets is Brian Burke. Now, I've never met Brian Burke, but Brian Burke went through the 2008 crash, and he was a multifamily investor. What he said is, if you have investors, never let them lose money. So he took the hit in 2008, and his investors never lost money, and he is so wealthy today. He is still making podcasts about multifamily real estate. One more quote from Les Brown. When life is good, you put it in your pocket. When life is hard, you put it in your heart. So I want to encourage you to find mentors that you can look up to and that you can follow in whatever it is that you want to do. Some people do dividend investing, and I'm starting to watch YouTube channels about dividend investing. I don't do dividend investing, but I might want to do dividend investing. So I'm looking for mentors that can teach me about dividend investing. I talked about the growth mindset. This totally relates to what we have going on right now with tariffs. Yes, tariffs are happening. Yes, prices are increasing. However, you have to ask yourself, how can I go from this failure of tariffs, which are outside of my control, to profit on tariffs? Some people invest in companies or industries that are going to benefit from tariffs. Other people in the real estate business, I watch them to see if interest rates are going to come down, which makes it easier for me to buy more rental properties. I don't know how I will benefit from the tariffs, but I will find a way to profit. And no matter what market there is, there's always a way to profit. In line with what I just said, in real estate, there are three components. And I will have to use one of these three components to profit during this current economic situation. In real estate investing, you have to either give up your time, your comfort, or your money. I will have to give up one of those three things, if not two of them, in order to profit during this current economic condition. YouTube was not around when I was younger. It is now, so I take advantage of it. I listen to books on YouTube that really benefit me. One of the books that I read before YouTube was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And if you condense that book down to what it really essence says is buy assets to fund your liabilities. And I've tried to do that. I'm doing that more and more into my future now that I have some assets. But in the past, that's what I was trying to build to get to. The next book that I listened to was The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. And in that book, what he said was, you buy $1 million, you pay off $1 million, you own $1 million. I'm not there, but that gives me goals to set for my life. The other book that I wanted to mention, and I've watched and listened to a ton of different books, is Quit Like a Millionaire. This young lady quit working in her 30s, financially free. I didn't quit working and early retire until I was almost 60. So this is someone who did it right and did it young. But what she did is she travels around the country using geo arbitrage, but her and her husband, if they pull out less than $40,000 a year, it's tax-free. And that's what I'm looking for, is a tax-free existence. It is possible. Other people have done it. And so I want to make sure that I do it. To end this video, I recommend that you embrace a positive and proactive attitude towards your financial setbacks. No matter what life throws at you, you can come back. If your budget is low, work on it. You can track all of your expenses and do much better when you find that gap that you can use for savings or investments. I'm going to give you two quotes for today as opposed to one. And one is fail early, fail often, but always fail forward. And that's by John Maxwell. The other one is from Jim Rohn, who says, formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Remember, never let your past determine your future.